right, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and just use a cylinder to build all these top pieces. So we're getting into smaller shapes here that are connected to the main shape that we've already made. And so I'm just going to go ahead and scale this out. And with each piece that I make, I also make a high poly piece that I keep as a copy in case I screw something up, because that does happen, or in case like my mesh just doesn't match perfectly. I have a high poly copy that I can use as a guide and snap to. Or in case I have to move edges around and like redistribute edges on some kind of like turn or something like that, or like on a cylindrical shape. Sometimes you have to redistribute the edges. The high poly allows you to just basically snap to it so that you know that you're getting the curvature correct. So, okay, I'm going to get rid of half of this, but before I get rid of half of it, I'm going to go ahead and make that high poly piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and select all these edges, and I'll end up mirroring this piece so I don't have to do this part twice. So I'm just going to grab the faces and then just offset them in just a bit. And then we'll go ahead and just start doing our cuts. And I changed my mind. I was going to go vertical with the first cuts and then horizontal like that. Yeah. So this is just like capping holes. So if you watch the capping holes video, this is the same process. And then I'll put a cut down the middle and delete the back part out and then just mirror it. So like I said, this is a process where I'm always keeping one part of the original shape, even though this is kind of going to be a half circle at some point or a half cylinder. I am still going to make the full high poly piece as like a full cylinder, just because I know that it'll transition past the midpoint of the shape correctly. So, okay, so here I'm just going to take half of this and delete it, and then I'll work on the high poly, which is super simple. I just got to run some tight edge loops so that I can subdivide it, and it will be nice and smooth, but not lose its shape. So you'll see I'll just like run some really tight edge loops in here, and then a really tight edge loop in the front and the back. And then I just throw this into a layer and basically hold on to it. Sometimes I don't end up using these, but it's really important that you keep these so that you can, if you do run into problems later. So I've forgotten it before, and then it's many times bit me in the old derriere when I forgot to make this shape, and then I'd have to go ahead and sort of recreate it, and it's a pain. It's much easier just to do it off the front. So I'm calling this like my snap to. So in case I need to use it, I'll put all my snap to shapes into there. And I'm just making sure that my verts are perfectly aligned now. And so now I'll go ahead and start making the primitives for the basically like the eye piece, the viewfinder piece, which is that black piece at the top. And again, these are all cylinders, but in this case, I'm going to use 16 sides because the shapes are getting smaller. So I don't feel like I need as many edges, as many segments. So I'm going to go ahead and just use 16 for this piece right here as it gets smaller. But when I do pick these pieces, what I like to do is make sure that there's at least like a cross, so that like there's a vertical and a horizontal that splits the mesh. So like 16, 12, 8, 20, all have those kinds of crosses. So here I'm just basically, I'm going to isolate this, and this is basically kind of almost like a half circle type of shape. Half cylinder maybe, I should call it. I don't know what you would call this shape, a half pipe on its side. Something like that. And I deleted out the other side because I'm going to end up mirroring this. So I'm just going to do like one side and then I'll mirror it over to the other side. No reason to do the extra work. So here I'm just laying these in the back, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut all the way through here. There's multiple ways that you can do this. I just felt like doing it this way. And sometimes when I'm doing tutorials, I just change up the way I do things just to show that there's multiple techniques that you can do the same thing. Obviously, typically doing the faster way is probably best, but you still can learn different methods that work well. Here I'm just kind of snapping these to the so they're all in a line. And then I'll go in here and basically remove all these extra edges that I don't need. I leave the middle line in the so that's the cross I'm talking about. Like there's a perfectly vertical line and a perfectly horizontal line. I always basically try to use cylinders that at least have those. And then this here, I want those to be straight. And now later, because I'm combining this to the other shape, some of this stuff might change, but I'm basically doing this step by step because it's more for the object learning lesson. I think it's important to just sort of see each step along the way kind of broken down, more simple. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. So I'm just cutting to the midpoint. And now I pretty much, once I put this edge in here, I pretty much have this shape done. Of course, I'll have to check it. So hit 3 on the keyboard and check the piece. Clone it. This is actually, before I check it, I'm going to actually make my high poly piece first here. So I'm just adding in those little edges, and then I'll put a little edge back there. So yeah, there we go. Now I'm checking it. And then just move the pivot point to the center, and then it's much easier to mirror it across. So I was going to move it back here and freeze the transformation so I knew so it would move exactly back where I wanted it if I did need to use it as a guide later. So that's why I did that. And I'm just trying to figure out what axis this thing is mirroring on. Because when I was using the other one mirrored on the Z axis, or it wasn't the Z, it was like the Y because I had it rotated. So anyway, yep, just working that out. There we go. And always make sure you watch that merge threshold, especially when you have like really close verts like this one does, because you will accidentally merge verts together that you don't want to. So that's an important one. All right, so then again, I just pop this in this layer. It's there in case I need it. And I'll just move forward with the next piece. Delete the history. I like to delete the history every so often just because I don't like it to build up. I want Maya to run fast. So I'm moving this where it belongs. And then now I'll do my last one. And the last one, I'm going to make this 20 because I think the shape's big enough. And then I'm leaving the original primitive so that I can keep using it to like change the settings. And then I just go ahead and like make copies and pull those around. Just makes my life easier. And of course, I'm aligning this to the back so that I can snap it right to the other piece. That way I'm sure of where, that I'm not going to be overhanging, and it's just easier later when you're working on stuff. So I'm going to need these two pieces isolated eventually so that I can just work on them and get everything else out of there. But before I do that, now I'm just going to do the offset on this while I still have everything intact. Eventually I'll just delete half of this off. You can see again, like I'm just getting rid of, I'm going to select all the edges except for the horizontal and the vertical, and then I'll just start putting my cuts in. So same deal, you're going to end up seeing this a lot. I could have like duplicated my other piece and like just brought it over here and scaled it. I guess that would have been faster, but sometimes you're just not thinking of that. You're just moving forward. So this is one of those cases. So I'm going to go ahead and just run that edge loop. And so now I have that piece, and now I can go ahead and duplicate it and make my high poly just in case I need it later. Oops, cut it wrong. There we go. All right, so now I take these two pieces, isolate them, and I want to make sure that the mid section of the bottom is like perfectly aligned. So I'm going to turn on the wireframe, make sure I snap those verts right over to it, and then we get cutting. Okay, so here's the idea: you have to have edges that basically go up and down that will be able to match up with the edges on the piece that's going to be shooting out. So you'll see like I'm sort of putting these edges, they're a little bit offset because I know that I want them just a little bit outside, and I'm going to go ahead and actually I think I deleted the back there. We'll see because I didn't really actually need the back face. And here I'm just moving everything around so that it's balanced. Um, anyway, to continue what I was saying, um, you're gonna have to do like a cut that cuts around that. So it's gonna cut around the circle. So you're gonna see now I'm gonna start cutting around the circle, and I'm trying to just keep like the same distance from the edge. So I'm eyeballing it, but I'm just trying to like eyeball the same distance from the edge. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but pretty close. Because once we join these two pieces together, we need to have like this nice fillet edge on there, like it's like a chamfered edge, and that's a lot of manufactured parts have stuff like that, so you have to keep that. So here now I'm going to the other piece, and then I'm laying in some vertical lines that will match up with the other lines that are coming off the other piece. So once I do that, I'm getting this area here where this is actually like a really tight spot, but it is joined. So I'm gonna have to move these a little bit here because I'm gonna have to work around that. And then what I'll do is I'll start my cut from this point right here, and then I'm basically doing the same thing I did in the bottom. I'm just cutting around. And then what we end up doing is basically deleting the areas that are underneath. I think yeah, here I think I delete half. So I just get rid of half because I know I'm not going to need that anymore. And then I'm just going to get rid of all these and delete those. And then I can see that there's a piece like in the middle, and I need to get rid of that triangle. So I'm just running like an extra edge, and then I'm going to just delete that. So I'm just basically rerouting, and then delete that piece that was separated. And now I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to delete these inner pieces that we don't need. And then we'll combine the two pieces and then bridge these together. And then we'll work on the topology a little bit because we'll have a couple things to fix. So here we're combining them. And got to get rid of that as well. And then I'll start usually I start off with a bridge, like I'll just bridge one edge, and then sometimes you can get it to work perfect, but sometimes the bridge is finicky. So what I did there is I just kind of got the outer pieces, and then I grabbed the inside, but then deselect the part that's on the first pieces I put. So if you didn't catch that, watch the video again. You'll see what I'm talking about. So here I'm rerouting my topology because I want it to go around, and just getting rid of those. And so now that looks pretty balanced. I'm just going to straighten that out a little bit. And if I've done this right, see, look at that. Look at how nice that looks. That's what we're looking for, just like that. And I've done it a number of times, so obviously it may look kind of second nature to me, but just FYI, realize it takes some practice to get used to doing this kind of work. It's not natural. Obviously, you're not born with knowing how to do this stuff, so you gotta watch tutorials and figure it out and stuff like that, and practice. Challenge yourself. Okay, so now I'm just like I mirrored it, and then I'm just moving it over so it fits onto that piece, and there we go. So now I can just look at it and see, yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, well, that was the main goal for this one. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Happy modeling.